Walker in behind here now. There's options in the box. Gustavo brings it 2-0.
Last second, will it be now? Towards the back post of Costa! They have it! The substitute, Cho Yu-sung!
주장입니다.
이영재가 다시 한번 기적을
Hello, 안녕하세요. Welcome to the K-League United podcast. Season 7, episode 6, gentlemen. We're back after an international break, and joining me is Paul Neat. How are you doing, Paul?
Hello there. Not bad. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks. Coming all the way from Suwon once again, it's Andrew Farrell, everyone. Andrew, how's it going?
I'm just glad the international break is over. Let's watch some K-League 2 again, lads.
Exactly. And making his first start for the 2024 season, we have Luke Evans back with us, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing, Luke? Good to have you back.
Not bad. Thanks for having me.
And so we've been away with obviously K-League off. We've also had our own little break, and a lot has happened in that break. We've had the Korean FA Cup. We've also had 2 career matches and, lots to talk about in between as well. We're going to be going through all of that. But first of all, we should really start with what has actually been, very serious news, but also a positive news. It was announced a couple of days ago that Son Jun-ho, formerly of Jeonbuk Hyundai fame, a K-League 2020 MVP and Shandong Taishan player, he's been released from detainment in China. He had been detained since last May. He was detained in Liaoning province and then formally arrested 37 days later. He was arrested on suspicion of accepting bribes as part of like a wider movement within Chinese football to expose alleged corruption. But he's back in Korea, thankfully. 319 days in total. Obviously, Son Jun-ho as well. He's a national team player. He's recently played in the Qatar World Cup, obviously missing at the Asian Cup as well in recent months. So it's very positive news to actually have him back in Korea. He's currently without a club, but I think that's probably the last thing on his mind at the moment. He's obviously got a very young family as well, so it'd be good to return to them. But congratulations on him getting back, and it's great to have him back here, I guess. And so some positive news to start the podcast with. But we're also going to be looking at some of the football fixtures from the recent weeks. We're going to be looking at the Korea Cup, which took place last week. Andrew, you were actually at one of these games last week, were you not?
I went down to Suwon Blue Wings against Chuncheon Citizen. It ended 2-1 to the Blue Wings. And because of this result, Suwon have set up a repeat of last season's third round tie against Ansang Greeners in the WA Stadium. It was a sluggish performance against the K3 side. The best I can say about this game is that the weather was really, really beautiful at last. Waiting a long time for this. The match was also noteworthy for the return of midfielder Kazuka Kazuki, much to the delight of the home fans. Kazuka was clearly fired up, as you can imagine. He got stuck in during his 30 or so minutes on the pitch. He was involved in a few tussles, but displayed his offensive and defensive qualities during that short time on the pitch. I still think that Suwon's chances of going up are largely dependent on the Japanese midfielder playing the rest of the season and hopefully not seeing out too many more suspensions. This was far removed from the comfortable outing I think many of us might have expected, given the enormous disparity between the clubs in terms of history and finances. Although if you look at the other results in the Korea Cup over the weekend, the K2 side generally struggled quite notably against the K3. Sorry, the K2 side struggled notably against the K3 sides. Chuncheon held their illustrious oats for about 63 minutes, but then Kim Hyun grabbed his first goal for the club. when his shot went in off the post. The best goal of the game, though, arrived about 8 minutes from the end, and it went to the visitors. Ide Guang, who's on loan from Suwon FC with an absolute peach from the edge of the box. He celebrated in front of the home fans in the North Stand, turning around to display his name and number. He received plenty of boos for that, but it was pretty entertaining. A couple of minutes later, Saw Dong Han scored his first for Suwon. Which unfortunately denied us a penalty shootout and an excuse to stay in the sunshine for a little bit longer. And as I said, Suwon will now make the short trip to Ansan. This is their third in 12 months, the new super match of K-League 2. Last season, the air quality was so bad for this game that during the third round tie, that the local government was sending us messages to avoid spending time outdoors. Suwon prevailed 3-1 in that game, and now they're going to be back to Ansan again.
All right. Paul, speaking of K-League 2 side struggling, you've been looking at one side that found it very difficult.
Yeah, can I just say, Andrew, you used the T word there. I hope Lingard wasn't listening to that because.
Oh, that's coming up later. Don't worry.
Yes, no, I was looking at Jinju versus Cheongnam Asan because the winner of that tie will play against Daejeon, and so I wanted to see. Well, I mean, obviously, you always want to have the sort of smaller team possible, you know, for the magic of the cup and all that. And it was. That's how it turned out. Jinju of K4 won 1-0 against K-League 2 Cheongnam Asan. First of all, it's a huge shame that only 156 people were there to witness this sort of cup upset. But Jinju have quite a few players with some K-League experience. Park Jae-woo, who made about 16 appearances for Pohang, including one in the ACL not too long back. Lee Jung-min, who played for Jeju, Daejeon, and Seoul Eland, he played. Gwongi Pyo as well, who played for Pohang, Seoul Eland, and FC Anyang. And Kim Bo-young, who you might recall played for Chiang Mai in Thailand and FK Turon in Uzbekistan. But the only goal of the game went to another former player for Daejeon, Gong Yong-hun. Now, it has to be said, Asan did make quite a few changes to their starting 11. They gave starts to Anderson and Kaina, two of their foreigners, but they couldn't do it against the K4 teams. You'd have to worry a little bit about Asan in that regard. But Asan were aggressive early doors, looked to get on the front foot, had a couple of sort of shots well saved by the keeper to keep it at 0-0. Jinju then grew into the game, and Park Young-min at left wing back caused them quite a few issues. Jinju, though they had good shape, they frustrated Asan, who were limited to just the sort of the odd half shot sort of. It wasn't a lot of a clear cut stuff from Asan. Decent game, plenty of endeavour from both teams, but the winning goal was a really nice goal in the 37th minute of the second half. Because that's how the highlights had it on screen. I'm not going to do a maths test, so whatever that works out as. Good footwork from Kim Min-soo, who had good awareness to slide it into Gong Yong-hun, who then took a touch and found the bottom corner from outside the box. Jinju suddenly had to sort of had a lead to protect, and so it became a bit of a sort of get men behind the ball kind of situation for the last 10 minutes. They survived a couple of scares. They almost made it 2-0, but they survived, and now they play Daejeon at home in round 3.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there about Asan heavily rotating for this. Do you think, like, if you're an Asan fan, obviously, you're not really going to be looking into the playoffs. Do you think, like, should they be? It wasn't like a midweek game. Well, what is your other thought, like, on them rotating for this particular fixture?
I mean, you can understand to a certain degree because you can give, the players who hadn't featured so far a bit of an opportunity to sort of stake their claim and get in the first team. But at this stage of the season, after 3 games played in the league, you just want to get a bit of momentum, trying to get a bit of a rhythm. So I can see why he made changes, but it was probably not the right time for them to do that. So, yeah, it was obviously a risk that they took, and it backfired.
Well, I bring it up because they weren't the only team at it. I chose Daejeon Korail, Seoul Eland, and as the fixture, and it finished 1-1 between the two sides. Seoul Leland winning out on penalties, but I didn't choose this just because of the prospect of a second Seoul derby. I didn't choose it because of not just because of the decent start that Seoul Leland had, but also Daejeon Korail, the 2019 finalists, the decent side, and yeah, it was a surprise looking at the team selection because you'd think how much the prospect of a potential Seoul derby would mean. We keep getting told how much it would mean to Seoul Leland to play FC Seoul. And Kim Do-kyun chose one player from his previous 11. He switched 10 players out for this match. And it kind of reflected on the pitch. It was really, they found things really difficult. And it was Daejeon Korail that took the lead. It was Kim Byung-woo with the opener just after the hour mark. He controlled the ball at the edge of the area. And then he sent a low grass cutter between two onrushing defenders and into the bottom corner, much to the annoyance of goalkeeper Lee Ki-hyun. Seoul Leland did get, obviously we know that they won, but they did get the equaliser quite late. It was a substitute Kim Gyol who got it in. He fired in after Hwang Tae-hyun crossed in, and good control, rifled into the top corner. They saw out the penalties, but it's just because what you said there about Asan rotating. I feel that Seoul Leland as well, they really, really made it difficult for themselves here. They had no foreign players in the squad at all. All of them were given the weekend off. Again, we get this fixture with FC Seoul. You think it's supposed to be what they really want, what they're aiming for. I also do understand Seoul Leland. They've had a good start. They are aiming for promotion. Perhaps it is a week to rotate, but on a weekend where the cup is being played, because normally we get the cup matches midweek. When you've got the cup on a weekend, I don't see any benefit in rotating, especially when you've had that momentum at the start. I know they lost to Bucheon, but they still had reasonably good momentum at the beginning. Just my thoughts on it. But Luke, I know you were also taking a match, and you've chosen a match that doesn't involve any K-League 2 teams, which quite refreshing.
Yeah, I've chosen a K3 versus K4 game, and the K3 team Gimhae FC prevailed. They were playing Pyeontaek away from home, and the score was 5-1, which was the highest scoring game of the round. 235 people turned out for the game, which was 1-1 at half-time. Gimhae took the lead second half, about 3 or 4 minutes into the second half. And then that was pretty much it until about the last 15 minutes when they scored 3 goals in the last 4 minutes to make the game safe, setting up a game with Incheon United. They'll be at home to Incheon in the next round, which means we have to go all the way down to Gimhae on a Wednesday night. I was looking back at what Gimhae have done in the Cup, and they have played K1 teams quite recently. They played in 2022, they played Pohang at home. They lost 5-0. They played Daegu away in 2021, and they lost 2-0. And they faced Ulsan in the quarterfinals in 2018 and lost 2-0, which means Incheon should expect to win. But going into any game like that, you would be nervous that they're going to rest players and perhaps not. It's a cup upset waiting to happen, I think. We'll see.
It's the lesser known airport derby as well.
There you go. Although that could also be Gimpo versus, I don't know, Gimpo versus Muan. Do Muan have a team?
Yangyang have an airport. Yangyang, have they got a team?
Chungju.
It's the name in
Can I
airport.
just add one?
No.
I just want to add one thing to what Matt was saying there. I was just looking at it when you guys were talking. So Asan actually have 6 games between now and the end of April. And had they won that FA Cup game, they would have had another midweek game on the 17th. There would have been 7 games between the 30th of this month and the 27th of next month. You got to wonder as well that they have to look at the pictures. That's a lot of games to play in less than a month. And perhaps that was part of their thinking.
Yeah, no, I mean, if they'd won, nobody really probably would have questioned it. But obviously, they were the only K-League 2 team to have bowed out in the second round. In fact, I'm going to go through the results now. So they were our picks of the round. Obviously, there was more than 4 games going. So if you have a game that you thought was worthy of highlighting, please get it in the comments. But just to summarize the results from the Korea Cup second round, we have Byeoksan Players 1, Gimpo Citizen 3. As we said, Jinju Citizen 1, Asan 0. Paju Citizen 0, Gyeongnam FC 1. Pyeongtaek Citizen 1, Gimhae 5. Pocheon 0, Songnam 3. Good result for Songnam. Changwon City 0, Mokpo City 1. Your old stomping ground, Luke, I believe, Mokpo.
Yeah, they didn't have a team when I was there, though.
Well, clearly didn't have the goalkeeper. You know, they were actually no, they did have the goalkeeper. What am I talking about? Yeah. Anyang, they had a 1-0 win over Sihung Citizen. Daejeon Korail lost to Seoul Eland on penalties, as we mentioned. Gyeongju, can't even get the name out. Gyeongju Korea Hydro Nuclear Power 0, and Sangrinas 1. Hwasong 2, Yeoju 0. Jeonnam Dragons 1, Gangneung City 0. Bucheon FC 1995 2, Busan Transportation Corporation 1. And Cheongju to Goje Citizen 0. Busan iPark 0, Ulsan Citizen 0, but Busan making it through on penalties there. And 2 more games. Cheonan, they won 4-0 against Yangsan, and well, we already mentioned Suwon Blue Wings, 2-1 win for them, and yeah, their cup participation continues. Paul, what does that mean for the third round? We've got K-League 1 teams entering. Well, not the ACL teams, it should be said, but
yes, the 8 non-ACL teams enter in round 3, and one of them, Gangwon, is at home to Hwasong. Jinju Citizen are at home to Daejeon Hana Citizen. JG United are at home to Chonan City of K-League 2. Songnam are at home to Suwon FC. Daegu have Chungbuk Cheongju. Incheon United are at home to Gimhae City. All that says here at home, I'm sure it's away for some reason. Why I'm
sure it's away.
It's listed
unless
like
they've
this.
switched it, because I know they do that sometimes. But everything I've seen says it's away.
Away. I've lost the tab. Gimcheon versus Busan, Ansan versus Suwon Blue Wings, Gimpo FC versus Anyang, Gyeongnam versus Jeonnam Dragons, Mokpo versus Bucheon FC 1995, and last but not least, it's the Seoul Derby, Seoul Eland against FC Seoul. So there we go.
Can I just add one thing there? Sorry, just got across. I was going to add one thing, because remember when the draw was first made, we were looking at that Seoul Derby. It just kind of jumped off the pages, like the game that most of us were looking at. If Mokpo beats Bucheon, they'll play against Gwangju at home, which will be a nice little Jeollanam-do derby for the next round. And then also probably a real outside chance of this, but worth mentioning. A couple of results need to go this way. If FC Seoul win against Seoul Eland, they'll play Gangwon at home, and then they'll be away in the quarterfinal. And they could be away to the Blue Wings. The Blue Wings need to beat Ansan in the next round, and then a very tough game, obviously, against the defending champions Pohang Steelers in the last 16. But it is possible we could have a super match this season, despite the fact that the Blue Wings were relegated.
I believe we already had it in round 2. That's what I like to think. But yeah, which games then? If you pick a game to, and it's not until April the 17th, we will be doing probably a bit more on the FA Cup next week, or Korea Cup, I should say, for our listeners. Why aren't we saying FA Cup? It's changed this year. It's Korea Cup. Same competition as we love and know. Pick a game from the third round. Luke, I'll let you go first. Which one will you be tuning into?
Well, obviously I'll be watching Incheon, but if I was to choose a second game, I'd probably be interested to see the Seoul Derby. And it would be interesting to see how many people actually turn up for it, given that Seoul are selling quite a lot of tickets. I think the game this weekend, they're away at Gangwon, and that's already sold out, which is unusual. Their game against Daegu is going to sell out down in Daegu. They sold out at Gwangju. I'm expecting that there'll be a lot of people there. It'll be nice for Seoul Eland to actually get a big crowd. Yeah, so that's probably the game I'll have on the second screen.
Yeah, I believe they've even got fans flying in from Thailand, but we will be talking about, well, I'm sure we'll be able to get Michael Redmond on for that podcast to give us a more in-depth view. Paul, is it the Seoul Derby for you, or do you have your eyes elsewhere?
I'm going to go to it. I'm going to finish work early and I'm going to go to it. because I can't miss it, and I haven't been to Mokdong yet either. So kill two birds with one stone. So I'm gonna go to that, and I'm gonna have on my phone in the corner of my eye Jinju versus Daejeon, because the game, I think the Seoul Derby kicks off at 7:30, and the rest are at 7:00. So I could watch a little bit of both.
Okay, Andrew, is it Seoul Derby for you, or do you have?
Yeah, I'm gonna
slightly different
go to that one as well. It's too big of a game to miss. We might end up seeing that game next season. Who knows? If FC Seoul get relegated, we might see that game again. But otherwise, the second game I'm looking out for though is Gimpo against Anyang for two reasons. Number one, I don't know if it's been finalized where that game's taking place yet, because Gimpo are not moving back to their redeveloped stadium until May. I don't know if that's been finalized. But because I live so close to the Anyang Stadium, the winner of that game hosts Jeonbuk Motors in the following round. So I would love to see Jeonbuk Motors just down the road at the Anyang Stadium.
Yeah, I remember them actually. I remember Jeonbuk last time they went to Anyang, actually, 2016, I believe. But it's hard not to choose the Seoul Derby, really, isn't it? Just to be different, I'll say, I don't know. It's Songnam versus Suwon, because it's why not? Why not? I was going to say Ansan versus Suwon, but we've just had that, and I don't think we need it again. Yes, so there we go. But I think the Seoul Derby is the pick of the round there by a mile. So like I said, we'll probably get Michael Redmond in on the podcast from Thailand to talk about that, and we will be shifting our focus to Thailand after the break, because the Korean national team has been in action under new management. So don't go anywhere. Yeah, I've still got the short breaks. They're not going anywhere. You haven't gone anywhere. If I let people go somewhere, then they won't come back. But yes, welcome back to the K-League United podcast. Matthew Vince here. I'm joined by Paul Nee, Andrew Farrell, and Luke Evans. And before the break, we gave a quick rundown of the Korea Cup second round. We're moving on to international football, gentlemen, and Korea has been back in action with a home game against Thailand, followed by an away game against Thailand as well, back-to-back matches within a few days of each other. We'll be very original, and we'll start with the home game first. But Andrew, you were at that home game. You braved the crowds, and we saw some of your pictures from what was a very busy subway station that you were trying to navigate yourself through. How did you find the match from the first leg? How was things?
Yeah, well, I might as well just talk about the first leg, I'd say, because this is the one I was at. It took me a long time to get a ticket. As has been the case now, pretty much since Klinsmann took over, it felt like it was easier to get a ticket for some reason when Paulo Bento was in charge. Like even the games against Brazil, it didn't seem like it was that difficult to get a ticket. But any Korea game now just seems to sell out really quickly, probably because of the increased number of players playing in Europe. It was an interesting game. 75% possession to Korea, 25 shots on goal versus 6, and 6 on target versus 2. The 2 shots that Thailand had, actually, one of them was obviously the goal, and the other one was a brilliant save early on from Jo Yeon-woo in the goal for the Korea goal. And then corners, 14 for Korea and 4 for Thailand. So like it was pretty comprehensive, and yet the scoreline suggests otherwise. It ended 1-1. I thought Korea were desperately unlucky. They probably created enough chances to win about 5 games, let alone just this one. The first half, especially, like most of the danger just came down their left-hand side. It's always such a thrill to see a team load up on one side at pace, go 2-on-1 against a fullback, and then deliver this perfect cutback. EJ Song this time was the man who set up Son Heung-min for the first goal. And Korea attempted something really similar about 20 minutes before that, and then immediately after they scored. But ironically, it was actually that left-hand side where Thailand got their equalizer from. It was such a brilliant goal as well. I was sitting in that stand. All the Thailand fans were just to my left, and they went absolutely berserk, as you can imagine. And it was a brilliant goal as well. Like, it's one thing identifying that space when Korea keep pushing forward on the left-hand side. It's obviously another thing to finish it off. A cracking ball across goal and then a good finish. In real time, I thought that he was offside. And obviously, there's no replay in the stadium when the opposition score. But it's only when I went home afterwards you could tell that the player was absolutely onside. But in terms of like just how unlucky Korea were, because Jang Woo-young had a had a shot about a minute into the second half. Don't know if you guys remember this. The goalkeeper pulled off a world-class save. I think he got both hands to the ball, deflected against the bar, and I went away from danger. So it was just one of those games for Korea. And in terms of like individual players, looking at some of the K-League players, obviously everybody was excited to see Joo Min-gyu making his debut just shy of his 34th birthday. I thought he played pretty well, held the ball up and put himself about, as people like to say. But it just didn't happen for him. There was that one chance midway through the first half. I think it was Hwang-in-Bom's drive was parried by the goalkeeper. And Joo Min-gyu did well to stay on side. And he met the rebound. But it was like an awkward angle for him. It wasn't an easy chance by any means. But he just kind of felt like it wasn't going to be his day. And I wonder now, with his age profile, is he going to get many more opportunities like this? It'd be surprising, but in fairness to him, there were 65,000 people at his debut. He got to play with Son Heung-min, Kim Min-jae, a bunch of his Ulsan teammates. Lee Gang-in came off the bench. So I think it's not quite a dream debut for him, but it must have been really exciting for him to finally get that opportunity. So 1-1 in the end, as I said, and at least they corrected some of those errors in the second game against Thailand. But it was fun to be there. So it's always fun to see the different way that Koreans watch their national team. I think it's the best way of putting it.
Yeah, it's very, very passionate support. But yeah, very much a different feel to what we used to week in, week out at K-League. I think that's fair to say as well. Paul, anything to add to the first leg there, or do you want to kick on to the second?
Well, just the number of K-League players that were involved in that game. I always like to look to see how many are involved, and it was 5 that started. So obviously, basically, all of the back 4 apart from Kim Min-jae, and then obviously the goalkeeper as well, and then Lee Myung-jae came on. So he was a bit of a sort of second act because all the attention was on Joo Min-gyu making his debut, but so did Lee Myung-jae, his Ulsan teammate, the 30-year-old left back. So that's just, it was a kind of, the game itself was kind of typical, I thought, of South Korea when they faced against kind of a low-ranked team at home that make it difficult for them. Obviously, the draw, I think, in terms of the overall picture with the 4 points from 6 available, I think you would have taken 4 from 6 if it was the other way around. If they'd have drawn away and won at home, it would have been, oh, well, that's fair enough. Because it happened the other way around, I think there was a little bit of anxiety after that first game. But yeah, other than that, happy to see the big man, Joo Min-gyu, make his debut. I do hope, like Andrew said, I do hope that he does get more opportunities to play at Sangam for Korea.
Yeah, well, yeah, as long as it's not for FC Seoul, for sure. But yeah, I really wish he had been able to get a goal. Obviously, it didn't really work out for him in that debut, but fantastic to finally see him in a shirt. Luke, anything you want to add just to both these legs, really, from what you saw?
Well, for the away leg, when they were playing last night in Thailand, I thought their finishing was a lot more composed. I think, like, in the final third, they did a lot better after all of the build-up and controlling the ball. But I think as well, they were very nervous at the back. There were a few occasions where Thailand went close as well on the attack, and with a huge crowd in Bangkok cheering them on, it was nail-biting at times until, like, South Korea scored a couple of goals. I remember one point, I think it was towards the end of the first half, Korea took a throw-in and lost the ball, and they were giving the ball away under pressure at the back, and they're going to get punished if they need to have more composure at the back. They need to look after the ball a bit better at the back, and they need to make sure that they're playing the right way and playing forwards. Going forward, I'm not too worried. They're always going to score goals. They've got a lot of firepower, but I think sometimes defensively they look a bit frail, and yesterday I was quite nervous until they got the second goal in the cushion.
The passing was a bit strange, I thought. Was the grass too long or something? The ball...
I didn't know if it was the pitch.
Yeah.
Like, balls were being played and they weren't making the target. So whether it was grass that was long, but they were passing to each other and they were kind of looking surprised that the ball was supposed to be coming to them and it didn't, and it was getting intercepted. I know, again, Jo Hyun-woo made a great save once or twice when the ball had been given away in the Korean third, and it's kind of not what you would expect from a game like that. You'd expect them to go and dominate possession and keep the ball well. And for the first, I think maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, they looked nervous. They looked nervous on the ball, and it was the goals that settled them down.
But I also think that Park Jin-suk, when he came on, he helped that. It was a bit more assuredness in midfield because I don't think, and people have said this a lot on Twitter as well, you can't really play Hwang In-bom and Paek Sung-ho together as those sort of two in a 4-2-3-1. It just, you need somebody else.
Similar.
They're too similar. Son Jun-ho is obviously he would have played if he was available. He'd have played at the Asian Cup if he was available. Alas, obviously he was not. And when he comes back, Korea will have options in there. But I think Park Jin-suk definitely has to be sort of seen as one of those options. I thought he was very, very good. And he scored as well. There was a bit of confusion. People might have thought it was Ji Min-gyu that scored because he did kind of look a bit similar. I think people have remarked that as well. They do look kind of similar. And I was happy because obviously for a guy who was captain of Daejeon, I like to see him do well. Obviously, it's a shame that he's at John Book, but it is quite a story that he's had. You talk about Ji Min-gyu's sort of fairy tale story from Goyang Zaikro to playing for Korea and winning the K-League title. Park Jin-suk is even probably more interesting because he was in K3 or the National League with Daejeon Korail. He was supposed to sign for Daejeon Citizen in 2017, but they changed the coach and the move fell through. Then he dropped out of K-League. Then he's just sort of Ansan Greeners, Daejeon, and then now obviously he's playing for John Book, won the FA Cup, playing for Korea. So it's quite a story for him too.
Yeah, indeed. I was actually quite happy when it was Park Jin-suk to get that goal, obviously from the John Book fan point of view. But I am also quite a big fan of his, and I am glad to see that he's getting game time now in the national team. As you said, I think he did offer that kind of assuredness in central midfield that Korea seemed to be lacking somewhat at the start of that game. Because, I think my views was kind of similar to you, Luke, that it just didn't seem assured at all at the back, really, against Thailand. It felt like with a bit more luck, Thailand could have got themselves back into it quite easy. But Hwang Sung-ho is unbeaten as a Korea manager. Decent record. He doesn't look to be taking the job on full time. Obviously, he's got his commitments to the Olympic squad. I mean, I don't think he is going to be taking it. Obviously, I think he'd probably be on the short list, you'd think, just because he has taken the helm. He might be on the short list for after the Olympics. But would you like to see more from Hwang Sung-ho in charge of Korea, or is this enough for you for now? And this goes.
I actually wouldn't mind. But I don't know. I think if the Olympics weren't coming up, they would have tried. I think to give him the job, but they can't because obviously there's got those 2 games in June, and then it's going to mean another caretaker while he's busy getting ready for the Olympics. I don't know. I mean, again, I think if the home performance would have been the away performance, then there might have been more sort of justification to give him the job. But I noticed that there's a lot of sort of nice things being said about him in the media over the last sort of day or so. And it does feel like they're putting the feelers out to see how people would react. Yeah, see how people react to, maybe he can get the job full time. So I don't know. He's funny because he was sacked as manager of Daejeon in 2020. I thought unfairly, and he has been sort of trying to rebuild his managerial career since then. And he won the Asian Games, so I don't know. It's difficult. I mean, I think he probably can't take it because obviously he's got his other commitments. But I don't know, difficult one.
Do you think he'd want it? Because obviously, when you're with the Olympic team, when you're with like the younger players, there's less immediate pressure, I think. Whereas if you take the national team job and it doesn't go well for you, then it's kind of, well, what do you do after that? I mean, he said he's committed to the Olympic team, and I think I don't know. I mean, it would be the easy choice for the KFA to like go all out and try and get him. But from his point of view, it kind of feels like a poison chalice at this point because the expectation is so strong.
It is, but I think with the Asian qualifiers, because there are more slots now given to the AFC for the World Cup, it's harder not to qualify if you're in the top 3, like South Korea are. Whereas in the Olympics, because of what they did in 2012, that's what everything's compared to, and then he has it on his shoulders to get exemption for the next batch of stars. And if they don't do that, then it's extra pressure for the next Asian Games. I think there's probably a bit more pressure, but for different reasons with the under-23 team because of the Olympics and stuff like that. Like, imagine if he'd have lost the final against Japan in the Asian Games, and those players who won exemption, suddenly they don't have it. Now they have to think about the Olympics, and there's all this disruption. You know, you have to ask, can we borrow this player from PSG and this player from Stuttgart? You know what I mean? Again, it's just, I'm not sure. It's different pressures, I think.
Yeah, all fair comments. I mean, obviously, if other people have their own comments, they can leave them in the comments because, we'd love to know who people think should probably be taking charge of the Korea team. Now, Han Sung-hong has finished his very short tenure at the helm. For now, anyway. We are now going to shift our focus to what we know best, and that's K-League, because K-League is back this weekend. So we are going to have a short break. How short? We'll find out after this.
Fans, we want to hear from you. You're encouraged to email KLU at info@kleagueunited.com or tweet at K-League United with any questions, comments or reactions. Or ask directly during one of our live shows.
Hello and welcome back to the K-League United podcast. Matthew Binns here, joined by Luke Evans, Andrew Farrell and Paul Neat. Did it the other way this time to keep it fresh. We are going to look at the K-League 1 because we kind of touched on K-League 2 a little bit in the Korea Cup, and also, you know, people do need to go to bed who are watching this live. So we are going to just be looking at K-League 1 round 4 this weekend, and it starts with a little bit of a K-League United derby. Incheon United versus Daejeon Hana Citizen. Paul versus Luke. Well, we can listen to both of you talk, or would you like? I believe you brought a clip along as well. How would you like to do it?
Bit of both.
Bit of both. Roll the clip.
Roll the clip.
Okay, roll the clip.
We head into this game at the weekend. It's identical. 2 draws and 1 loss from the first 3 games of the season. Both teams have scored 3. Incheon have conceded 1 goal fewer, though, so they sit 9th and Daejeon sit 10th. Right, so we have had an international break. How do you think Incheon will have spent that? Because they went in on a high, perhaps, after that 3-3 draw with Ulsan just before?
Yeah, the game was a tough game because both teams were on top in different spells. We were in front and then we were behind. So coming out with the draw is probably a fair result. And hopefully, like getting on the score sheet, scoring 3 goals, it will work as a catalyst for the season coming. I mean, we've had 3 tough games and then we've had an international break. I actually think the international break has worked well because it provides us with a chance to kind of have 2 weeks to look at what's gone well, what's not particularly worked, tweak things where we need to, and analyze what do we do for the next set of games. I know Daejeon scored late to secure a point against Gangwon as well. For you, did that feel like a win?
Yeah, in some ways it did. Obviously, Lapo as well on his debut came on. He was very good. He looks like a really shrewd signing. Even though he hasn't played for 8 months, he looked very, very good. And in that finish, you know, he had no right to score from there with that angle. Yeah. They also could have probably got the second goal if they were a bit more composure. So it wasn't that first win that they needed, but it felt a bit like it for the fans, I think. But for the players, now there are those behind the scenes videos that the club put on YouTube for every game, and you can usually tell the mood by how little footage they put in after. But there wasn't much. There was just a few sort of seconds of the players sat in the dressing room, kind of slumped with solemn looks on their faces. And it looked like that they just look a bit despondent. And from what I've heard as well, they have been kind of low. The mood's a bit low. I mean, I suppose given that they've both had mixed starts to the season, we could highlight some of the good things and the bad things. So as Incheon are the home team for this game, what positive thing can you think of about this, about the sort of season so far?
The first thing that comes to mind would be the young players that we've had starting and playing. Everybody always looks to the main people, the big names in the squad. But for us, the younger players have actually taken their opportunities quite well. Kim Sung-min and Park Sung-ho have played quite a lot already, and both have done really well. They've shown that they actually deserve to have a place in the team. Kim Sung-min is lightning quick and has been running up and down the wing. He had a really good run out against Seoul, and Park Sung-ho got a goal against Ulsan, which was a really important goal. And he was in the right place at the right time to poke home. And it's kind of getting a goal as a young player is a huge confidence boost, and I think that's something that's really positive. Getting first goal of the season, playing really well as you come into a team as a younger player. Yeah, no complaints there.
Yeah, I think I'll go with a similar tone because Gutek looks excellent. Obviously, he scored in that first game of the season against Jeonbuk. He has missed a couple of chances in games afterwards, but his all-round play, you can see why they let Thiago go, and then they are sort of pinning all their hopes on him. If your strikers are on form or they look like they're going to be contributing, that's usually half the battle. So that's one positive. How about a negative?
I think the sheer volume of injuries. Right now, we've got so many injuries in central midfield that people are playing out of position to provide cover. Against Seoul, and Poku was sitting back in a central midfield position when he's normally kind of much more of an attacking player, maybe a number 10. Kim Do-hyuk's out. We let Yoram go. We've got Shin Jin-ho missing. We've got Moon Ji-hwan missing. And so you've kind of got Lee Myung-ju and another player, usually a younger player, but the second half against Ulsan, like Park Sung-ho dropped back into central midfield because there was literally nobody else to play there. But on the other hand, I suppose with all of these people out, when they come back, hopefully, we'll be able to build on that and we'll have a full strength team.
For us, I think composure is still an issue. The team are very easily flustered. And then against Jeju, they just completely fell to bits in round 2. They lost all composure in that first half. They gave away a penalty, which was handball. It was a bit unlucky, but it was handball. And then in the dying embers of that first half, they gave away another penalty. Just a clumsy foul. It was soft, but it was a clumsy sort of grab of someone's shoulder and he went down. Just have a bit of common sense. And then they were rattled. Completely rattled. The passing was poor. They couldn't put together 2 or 3 passes at a time. Well, any team news to talk about for this game for Incheon?
Well, we had a behind closed doors training game against Yangcheon. There have been photos of Delbridge playing and taking part in the actual game, but this looks to be the first time Delbridge has actually played. And so he's coming back from quite a long-term injury. So I don't know necessarily if he'll start. I don't know if he's going to be fit enough for the bench. But he's getting close to being back. And Poku missed the last game against Ulsan, and hopefully he'll be back in contention as well.
Well, for Daejeon, Anton should be back, I'm told. So that'll be a big boost in the back line. Park Jin-sung, the left back, should be back as well. Right back Kang In-sung has done his hamstrings. So he's definitely out. Oh Jae-sok, obviously the ex-Incheon man, probably will start in his place at right wing back. Or there could be Lee Dong-won as the under-22 option instead. Lee Sun-min is also said to be back this week. He missed the last game with an injury. So, all right. Well, I guess we'll find out at the weekend.
Find out Saturday. Yeah.
Paul Neat and Luke Evans there, and I'm joined by Paul Neat and Luke Evans as well as Andrew Farrell. Paul, Luke, it was a bit like a video analysis. How did you rate your performance?
My hair was a bit off center, and I looked a lot tireder than I realized. But luckily now I'm back to my sparkling best.
What we can say is the Paul is the Arirang experience is not wasted on you. Obviously, knowing to have the consistency with the jackets. There you go. And
I hide behind the mic so you can't see whether I've shaved or not.
I haven't shaved. I don't know if you
how
can
long
tell.
the beard has come back. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, the full Writers Chat will be available on our YouTube after this as well, or the full one. Sorry, will be on Patreon, I believe, and there'll be a midway version, I guess, between this one and the Patreon on YouTube. So lots of different cuts from that. It's like Blade Runner, and but yeah, less shiny lights. I should just ask you as well, while I've got you, Luke, are you Church of Delbridge or Cult of Yonich?
It's hard at the minute because Janjic has been absolutely fantastic. Since he's come back, he's proven that he's incredibly reliable. He leads the back line and he's well up for a fight. I think it will be interesting to see Delbridge come into the team and them play alongside each other and see how that will work. I think because they both normally go for the ball and leave somebody else to sweep up behind. So obviously one of them's going to have to change their role. But I'm on the fence. I'm sorry. I haven't seen enough of Janjic to formally declare allegiance, and as well Delbridge has been immense for the past 2 years. So we'll see how it. Why not both?
Why not
both?
Very diplomatic answer there from you, Luke. All right. We're going to keep going into the weekend, going by order. So, Andrew, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer to get round to you here. I've been quiet for a while here, but you might be able to pass opinion on this. We have got John Book versus Ulsan, and yes, it comes with a sigh these days rather than the excitement it used to once produce. Well, John Book, they're pulling out all the stops to try and make you care about this fixture. It's the third meeting between the two sides in as many weeks. They've brought out a new limited edition retro kit for the weekend. They've wheeled out Lee Dong-guk. He's going to be doing a fan signing this weekend. Kim Tae-wan.
He's not playing.
He's not playing. Well, yeah.
They're not going to let him play.
No, Lee Dong-guk. Kim Tae-wan, they'll let him play. Lee Dong-guk, he should play. We could really do with Lee Dong-guk play, perhaps.
And Petrescu right back.
Slip a contract in while he's doing those signings is what I say, and we'll get him out there. But yeah, no, Kim Tae-wan, he's set to play his 400k league match. Lots of things to be excited about. Please come to this game, and also, if that wasn't enough, there's rumours circulating around that Dan Petrescu, if he can't get his act together, then the board aren't very happy, and you might have a difficult task of trying to convince them against this Ulsan side, because he is yet to actually defeat Ulsan in his 4 meetings with them so far. So yeah, he's bemoaned injuries, but John Book 11 still looks strong enough on paper to pose a threat here. Hernandez, he's still not due back for this game. He's not far off though. Hong Jong-ho, he's probably just going to still be out for this one, but so it'll probably be a back line of Kim Jin-soo, Jong Tae-uk, Park Jin-sop, Kim Tae-hwan, which should be more than enough experience to keep most K-League sides at bay. They did look good against Ulsan in the first leg, it should be said about John Book, the first leg of the ACL quarter-final, that is. They should be confident here to try and pose a threat. Probably Son Min-kyu is going to be up top, slotting in behind Thiago eventually. It depends who the under-22 player is in this one. But yeah, I'm still not sold on it. I don't believe John Book are going to come up with the goods here because, Ulsan have looked very good, and Hong Myung-bo gets to welcome Ju Min-kyu back from international duty. Finally, something he never thought he'd have to do. And probably then will start Martin Adam. So Martin Adam, he got 2 goals against Incheon. He's looking very good recently. Lee Dong-kyung, he didn't start against Jeonbuk Lee Dong-kyung, but he started against Incheon, scored a goal. So he may also feel like he's made his claim to be in this squad at the weekend. But it's probably going to be a very similar lineup for both sides. Otherwise, that played in that second leg at the Munsu. I mean, I don't know, any other season, or maybe just later in this season, this actually would have been a clash of the weekend. We would have all been looking forward to this, but I feel nothing. I genuinely feel nothing for this. I'm a Jeonbuk fan. I want it over with more than anything. And I'm sure even Ulsan fans do, not because they fear Jeonbuk anymore, but they just probably want to verse somebody else. And Jeonbuk, they're going to have to attack for Dan Petrescu's sake. They have to win. If they park the bus, then, the bus could well find itself parked come the end of the game if the fans have their way. So, yeah. Jeonbuk Ulsan, the once super clash that we all used to look forward to. Really.
Ulsan conceded 5 in the last 2 games. Is that not something you get excited about?
Jeonbuk have scored hardly any. So that's the problem. I do, yeah. I mean, yeah, Ulsan have looked a bit leaky, but Thiago has looked off form. Not off form, but still finding his feet. He's obviously missed penalties for Jeonbuk. He's missed 2 open nets. All 3 of those chances against Ulsan, it should be said. So
the goal, the goal he scored against Suwon FC. That's a typical Thiago goal. You have to get him the service. He is, as I mentioned just to Luke in that writer's chat, that he is an inbox striker, whereas Gutek more all round. But you have to give him the service. And Daejeon used to forget how to use him. And then they go, oh, we've got a big man. Let's pump balls to him. We've just realised. And then it'd work and he'd score, or he'd knock it down and somebody else would score. But to me, everything just seems very slow and they can't get the ball into the box, into him fast enough. And it's just not working. You have to sort of play to his strengths. And I don't think you've done that yet.
No.
I do think as well, sorry, I was going to say, Ulsan.
No, go for it.
Ulsan, they concede goals. Like the 2 goals they conceded against Gimcheon were sloppy goals. The goals that Incheon scored, admittedly, one's a penalty, but they're not formidable at the back. And if you can take a chance here or there, it's the kind of game that you go into it and you think, like, if we can get an early goal, like, there's something in it for us. And it's kind of the game, like, looking back on previous years, Jeonbuk would have absorbed all the pressure from Ulsan. Ulsan have all of the ball, Jeonbuk win 1-0. And there's opportunity against Ulsan. They're not, going forward, they score lots of goals. Like, Martin Adam's been brilliant, but they're conceding goals as well. Like, they have problems at the back.
Yeah, and it's just Jeonbuk aren't capitalizing on those, but they're not capitalizing on mistakes or weaker defenses against anyone, really. They've struggled to get going at all, but perhaps the international break may have allowed Dan Petrescu to work with his team a little bit more. It may have allowed some players to rest up, perhaps get a bit closer to fitness. So, there is hope there that perhaps they can spark a surprise. Perhaps it will be the match of the round this weekend when we least expect it. But I don't know. I think, Ulsan, I agree with you on the points. I've also said myself, I don't think Ulsan are all that. I think they are not in the form we come to expect of them. But I just haven't got faith in this Jeonbuk team to capitalise on that, in my opinion. But I hope to be proved wrong, and thanks for giving me hope, you 3. It's the last thing I need. But anyway, Paul, speaking of, I don't know, Jeju seems to be looking a bit better these days, but have they got any hope against Pohang?
Well, we've got 3 distinct groups in K-League 1, and there's the group with more than 1 win, so that's Ulsan, Gwangju, Pohang, and Gimcheon. The one with 1 win, the 1-win group, Suwon FC, Jeju, and FC Seoul. And the no-wins group, obviously, Gangwon, Incheon, Daejeon, Jeonbuk, and Daegu. Now, what we have here is teams from 2 of those groups, but not the ones that you'd have perhaps expected. Jeju, just 1 win so far. Pohang with 2. I kind of expected that to be a little bit maybe the other way around. But Jeju, they lost to FC Seoul 2-0 away just before the international break. It was their first home. Now they've got their sort of second home game of the season after they had won at home. Before that, they beat Daejeon 3-1. A bit fortunate in that one. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond, one, to that loss away to Seoul, and how they sort of equip themselves in a game when they're probably not going to be the favourites because of obviously how strongly Pohang have started. Now, Jeju have the second lowest number of passes per minute of possession, which is 13.2. Only Daejeon are worse in that regard. Second fewest progressive passes. Only Gimcheon have fewer. So they're not doing enough with the ball, even though they have 49% possession on average. They are 8th for shots and 8th for accuracy. But this is a Kim Hak-bom team, so we know they're going to be defensively very sound. They have the highest challenge intensity, 6.6 duels, tackles, or interceptions per minute of opponent possession. They are second for interceptions and second for aerial duels. Their success drops a bit, down to 9th. Second for shots blocked, and first for defensive duel success at 68.7%. But they give away the ball a bit too much. No team has done more so than Jeju this term. For comparison, Pohang are the third best in that regard in terms of not giving the ball away. They will need to improve in front of goal. Now, Yui Jonathan has 2 goals, but both were pens. He does sit 9th in the sort of league for touches in the box. And what's kind of funny about him, perhaps helped by those 2 pens, is that he has the best shooting accuracy, 88%. 5 shots on target so far. Again, 2 were pens. For Pohang, well, 2 straight wins heading into the international break, including that 1-0 win at home to what is clearly still a very good Gwangju FC. It's their second away game of the season. The first, of course, they lost 1-0 away to Ulsan. Now, Pohang have scored 4 from an XG of 3.12, which is the third lowest in the division. So they are, albeit only slightly, outperforming their XG. But this is backed up by them being 9th for total shots with just 24. Accuracy of 41.7% puts them 5th, though. So I want to see, really, how they can continue this kind of way of playing, being accurate with what little chances that they do make, and kind of just about outperform their XG. There's a bit of team news, though, because Im Chae-min is suspended for Jeju. He lost the plot, didn't he, in that game against FC Seoul? Not sure what he was doing there. Head gasket went. And then he got Jonathan Aspropotomatis. He's back for Pohang. I think I pronounced that right. Anyway, Aspro, he is back from a suspension of his own. So this game should be quite interesting. 2 teams who want to be in the top 6, perhaps even top 4. One has started well, the other one, jury's still out.
Indeed. And, well, to round off Saturday, 4 games on a Saturday this weekend. Because it's the game of the weekend. It's Suwon FC versus Gimcheon Sangmu. They've brought in the big guns for commentary on this one, Fall. As me and you will be taking this one, which should be entertaining because I'm usually on Jeonbuk, it seems, or FC Seoul Daegu normally when we usually get these. So I'm quite excited to have Gimcheon as an option here. But for the game itself, the Suwon are going to be hoping to continue their unbeaten start to the season. While Gimcheon and Sangmu, they beat Jeonbuk last time out, so they'll be hoping to kick on here. But don't expect massive changes for either side. Suwon manager Kim Eun-jung is probably going to keep things very, very similar. He's going to have An Jun-soo in net, regular back 4 of Park Charu, Kwon Kyung-won, Kim Tae-han, and Lee Young. It's kind of allowed him to build that foundation, something that Kim Do-kyun's forward philosophy lacked a lot last season. Yun Bit-garam probably going to be anchoring things in midfield alongside Jong Sung-won and under-22 player Kang Sang-eun, while Ji Dong-won, Jose Pablo Monreal, and either Anderson or Lee Jun-sok will be on the right there. Lee Sung-woo still hasn't started, despite him being one of the best players on that Suwon squad, despite him scoring the goals that have, been so good that have made us miss other goals. The replays have been played that much, but he will probably eventually make the pitch, usually in replacement for the under-22. Gimchon, they're not expected to change many things. 4-3-3 as they've been playing all season. Wondu Jae is going to be in the middle of all that with captain Kim Hyun-uk sporting his number 3 up top in attack. Paul, the
Left back
anger
number.
that's going to cause the anger that's going to cause on Saturday. We'll just tune in on K-League TV to hear Paul go through the placement of shirt numbers. Tong Tien and it's going to be one other up top with him. It depends who's in net. Surprisingly, if Kang Hyun Moo is in net, then it's an under-22 up front. Lee Young Jun probably, and not Lee Young Jun. Sorry, what am I about? Oh yeah. Lee Young Jun up. Don't worry, it's going to be better on Saturday, Paul. Don't panic. I'll have my act together. But yeah, if Chun Jong-yong plays his under-22 card in net with Kim Jun-hong, then it's likely to be Lee Chung-min once more up top. But yeah, it should be quite a decent affair. Both teams, similar positions in the table. Both started very reasonably, if we ignore Gimchon's naive start to their clash with Ulsan. Probably means they're going to cancel each other out, but let's just hope it's going to be a score draw and not a 0-0. We'll be looking over. Yeah,
you mentioned Jong Chi-in there. Is he allowed to play with the election coming up?
Oh, topical. There we go. But yeah, anyway, moving on to Sunday, everybody. Andrew, we've kept you quiet for a while, but you have going to be looking at both teams. Yeah, we're going to be moving around the board on this screen for the people tuning in live, because Luke's been doing. Luke's moved up to third now in the table. But Andrew, take us through Seoul versus Gangwon, and what can people expect for those heading there?
Yeah, so Gangwon FT against Seoul is on Sunday at 2:00 in the Songnam Sports Town in Chuncheon. It's not a great stadium, but man, it's a beautiful place to watch a game of football down by the Han River. So as Luke actually mentioned earlier on for this, he touched on this. The opener, against Gwangju away was sold out. There were 51,000 at Seoul against Incheon, 30,000 for the game against Jeju, and now the sold out signs are up in Chuncheon. Jesse Lingard might not be working hard on the pitch, according to his manager Kim Gi-dong and some YouTube commentators, but he's working really hard to sell some tickets, and that's probably all that matters at the moment. Gangwon come into this game in 8th, one place behind FC Seoul. The home team have yet to win a game this season, but they have collected 2 points from 3 games after draws with Jeju at home on the opening day and Daejeon Hana Citizen, thankfully away from home, because I had Daejeon in Survivor that week. Their only defeat came at Gwangju. Gangwon were the league's lowest scorers in 2023, but they've notched 4 so far this season and create plenty of chances. It is worth noting that they have taken the lead in all 3 games so far, and 2 of those have been within a minute of the start. Lee Sang-han has scored 2 so far this year, but keep an eye out for Yang Min-yak. Born in 2006, gentlemen. I came to Korea in 2009 for the first time. He was born 3 years before I came here. He has a goal and assist to his name so far. Incredible stuff. FC Seoul finally got their first win of the season against Jeju last time out. They're full value for those 3 points after a top-class first-half display that featured an exhibition in midfield from Ki Sung-young. Ki scored a belter, got booked straight after that for a terrible tackle, and then in the 93rd minute was at the end of a 1-2 with Jesse Lingard almost capping a near-perfect performance with a second of the day. Speaking of Lingard, the former England player has come in for some criticism recently. He started on the bench again, coming on with about 33 minutes to go, I think. Admittedly, the first 25 minutes kind of passed him by, apart from being impeded by the referee on the edge of the box. But he was highly influential in the closing minutes, setting up key, getting booked for absolutely no reason, and then delivering a cross that ended up in the goal that was ruled out for offside. Choi Jun is worth looking out for. The right back, the FC Seoul right back, is lightning quick in attack and defense. Some of the most exciting moments in Sangam 2 weeks ago against Jeju involved Choi Jun. And of course, don't forget Big Stan up front. He grabbed his first of the season. It was also Seoul's first. Yes, it was. It was Seoul's first goal of the season as well from the penalty spot, and I had a nice little chat with him after the Seoul Jeju game.
So yeah, let's take a listen.
You're in the mix zone now. So, Stan, good win, 2-0. How do you feel?
Yeah, very good. The start of the season was not as planned, and so it was very important today before the national team break to get the first points, to collect the first 3 points, especially at home.
And how did you feel scoring your first goal of the season and Seoul's first goal in the World Cup Stadium here?
Yeah, I'm striker. If you score, it's always nice. With the opening goal, I hope it will give me some more confidence, some more energy for the following games.
And when you were taken off in the second half, it's hard to see from the media seat. Were you hoping you could have stayed on longer, or how was your body feeling?
No, my body feeling was okay. I could play more, but we had some space, so I think the decision of the coach was also good to bring a fast striker, to use the space behind. The guys did it well, so I don't have any problem with this.
Okay, good. And also, as you said, it was a tough start to the season. This is the third game, first win, but overall, what's the feeling like in the squad this season? And now you have a guy like Jesse Lingard involved in the squad too.
Yeah, we have a top squad with a lot of quality players, a lot of players with big names, but the names don't perform. The individual have to perform, and we are stepping up now game by game. And as I said, it was great and very important to win today.
And also, you're working again with Kim Gi-dong. Obviously, you spent time with him, the Pohang Steelers again. So, what is it like to be reacquainted with a manager you've worked with in the past?
Yeah, for me, I'm very happy about this because we have very good memories, but also I know what kind of style he's playing, and I think this style is fitting for me, and I'm happy that he's here, and I hope that we together can have good results in the future.
And just last question then. So Seoul in general, what is at the start of the season? What was the goal at the start of the season? Was it to win the league, or was it to kind of compete higher at the top of the table compared to last season? And then also just for yourself, what are your own personal goals for this year?
Yeah, own goals. To be honest, I never have goals like I have to score this amount of goals or make this amount of assists. Yeah. Of course, I want to play as much as possible, and I'm striker. I want to score. I have to score to help the team. As a team, we didn't say we have to be champion or something, but we want to be in the top positions. We want to be at least in the final A. I think this should be the main goal, because the last years the club always struggled in the final B. So I think the first step is for us is it's a long way to go, but to finish in the final A, and then we have five games, then we can see what is possible and what not.
Absolutely. And as you said, it's the international break coming up now, so we hope you have a nice rest. Wish you all the best, and hopefully we can talk to you again this season. Maybe Seoul are trying to get to the top of the table.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
FC Seoul, Stanislav Ilyichenko there, looking like he's telling Andrew off in that final picture. I'm not sure what you said to him there after the mic went off, Andrew, but he seemed in good spirits at least.
Yeah, he's not playing this weekend because of that. I found it interesting when he came out, because we were talking about this in the group chat afterwards. All the other Seoul players are. It's not a great place. It's my first experience going to Seoul for the media section, and it's not a great place to go. But all the other Seoul players are walk around in a nice little. I think they're prospects, aren't the prospects gear, flashing all this stuff off. But Big Stan came through with his formal clothing, shall we say. I thought he was heading out to some St. Patrick's Day event that night in Itaewon, but I didn't get to ask him what he was up to. It was the day for it anyway, but he didn't care. But then you mentioned, actually, Matt, that wasn't he in Shanghai or something, judging by his Instagram or something? So maybe he was going off, because certainly some of the players, they did mention that in the post-match press conference. There was no Lingard, and there was no Palacevic either, because they were gone. They were taking the plane straight after the game, so maybe he was taken off as well.
Yeah, quite likely. I think going away for the international break. But good to see him back on the score sheet. FC Seoul actually just getting on the score sheet in general after 2 games goalless at the beginning of the season. But yeah, FC Seoul back to winning ways. A team that's also been doing quite well is Gwangju, and they take on Daegu in the last of the 6 matches this weekend. Andrew, again, Gwangju, your old stomping ground. We say it every week, but I have to keep telling people you did live there once. Tell us what comes.
I lived there, as you said. Yeah, well, if we can backtrack a little bit there. So I moved to Gwangju in 2009 when a certain current K-League player who's setting the league alight was 3 years old. So You could always just lead into it with that as well from now on.
Yeah.
This is it's a 4:30 start in Guangzhou. I didn't have enough time to prepare this, so I apologize to the Guangzhou FC fans, especially Guangzhou FC fans. But these are two teams at opposite ends of the table, and they meet in the City of Light. Don't forget. Guangzhou are second and would have joined Ulsan HT at the top of the table before the internationals had it not been for a 93rd minute loss in Pohang. But it has been a very, very positive start for Lee Jong-hyo's side after a winter of great upheaval. Their opening day destruction of FC Seoul raised eyebrows, even if the match was completely overshadowed by Jesse Lingard's debut and some guy holding up chopsticks as he was taking a photograph. Unsurprisingly, Jung Ho-yan has been Guangzhou's standout performer in the midfield. The 22-year-old only has 1 assist so far, but his performance in round 2 against Gangwon probably cemented his spot in the national team squad for those 2 games against Thailand, even if it was ever really in doubt. Brazilian striker Gabriel has begun his K-League 1 career for Guangzhou like a dream. He scored 3 in 3 games. All of those have come at home. Daegu, unfortunately, are bottom of the table with just 1 point in 3 games. But like Gangwon, they seem to enjoy scoring first and then not holding on to their lead. Last time out, a 94th minute equalizer by title challengers Suwon FC robbed them of all 3 points at home. I was looking, it's the game that I always look forward to every year. So if you just bear with me for a second. So this is the derby of goals. I'm sure most people remember. 3-4, Daegu 3, Guangzhou 4, Daegu 1, Guangzhou 4, and the best one of them all, Daegu 4, Guangzhou 6, Guangzhou 2, Daegu 4. There's even been a couple of boring 2-2 draws in there. If you want to go watch a game that has some goals, I would definitely recommend go down to Guangzhou this weekend. There shouldn't be any problem getting a ticket, even with a small, cramped, awful enough stadium. But they're a really good team to watch, and this fixture more than any other in K-League 1 has goals in it.
Or if you can't get a ticket, just go to Lotte Mart and look out the window, because every time you watch a game at that stadium, the sort of all you see behind is the old World Cup stadium, and then next to it there's a Lotte Mart. So you just go there and then just watch from the window. Easy.
Well, there's even the steps, because the steps from up to the old World Cup stadium, or the World Cup stadium where Guangzhou, of course, used to play. From those steps, you can see most of the pitch. You could comfortably just stand in the shadows of the World Cup stadium and enjoy it for free. But I think we recommend people putting their hands in their pockets. And
not for sure. I'm saying just because it is sold out, just in case.
You heard it first. Lotte Mart. It's quicker to get to the beers as well. But yes, that rounds up the K-League 1 action for the weekend. We're not going to go through K-League 2, but we will read out the fixtures for both divisions before making fools of ourselves with our survivor picks for the weekend. So in K-League 2 this weekend, we have, we have Chungnam Asan. They will be at home to Chongbuk Cheongju. Seoul Eland, they're taking on FC Anyang in a bit of a local derby. Songnam FC take on Gimpo Citizen. Bucheon FC 1995 at home to Gyeongnam FC. Jeonnam Dragons welcome Cheonan City to Gwanyang. And Suwon Blue Wings, they welcome Busan iPark on, guess what, a Sunday. But also in K-League 1, we've already gone through the fixtures, but just one more time, just in case you weren't really paying attention. That's Incheon United versus Daejeon Hana Citizen, Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors versus Ulsan Hyundai, or HD as they are now, Jeju United versus Pohang Steelers, Suwon FC versus Gimcheon Sangmu, Gangwon FC versus FC Seoul, and Gwangju FC versus Daegu FC in a game that is guaranteed goals, quote Andrew Farrell. So, that's tune in for that 0-0.
Or the boring 3-3 draw.
Yeah, just a boring 3-3, yeah. It is Survivor, though. It is the last chance to enter Survivor as well. You can enter with just one life if you can get your pick in for this weekend. And Luke, you've been running it for us this season. How many lives are you on at the moment, Luke? 1.
What?
Oh,
I picked Songnam the first weekend, thinking that they'd actually turn up and turn a corner, and I picked Busan last time out. I always try to save my big guns for the end. I feel honestly like with me running it, it's better if I get myself out early, so then there's no complaints about I don't know,
rigged.
Yeah, you've rigged it. Yeah, well,
I don't think I've ever made it past about the 10th week, and generally it's the 5th week that I'm out.
So then I should ask you, which team should people not
Which team
pick?
to avoid?
Yeah,
I'm thinking. I haven't decided fully, but I'm having listened to this podcast. I'm gonna pick Guangzhou. So if everybody can avoid Guangzhou, and I'll choose Daegu for their first win of the year.
There we go.
Yeah.
Paul, how are you doing? And who are you picking?
I've still got all my lives left, just about though, because obviously that late equaliser for Dejon last week or last match, that kept me at 3 lives. But I was going to pick Guangzhou. I think at home,
Don't do it
against Daegu. They're not gonna. They're gonna. I just don't think they're gonna lose. They might not win, but I don't think they'll lose at home to Daegu. Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Yeah,
I think honestly, I've jinxed them. Let's have
a look at K-League 2 then.
Blue Wings.
Blue Wings. I don't know.
No.
Busan I Park.
I could back Blue Wings.
Let's go down in a ball of flames.
Go out with a
You're going
bang.
to get kicked out. At least Suwon Blue Wings has got out with you. All right. Okay. Andrew, who are you picking?
Well, like the Blue Wings, I'm going to drop down the division. I will not be going for the Blue Wings, though, just because Busan are absolutely horrendous at home, but they seem to be really good away from home. I'm definitely going to avoid that game. I was looking at 2. I was looking at Bucheon against Gyeongnam. I was thinking of Bucheon because Gyeongnam had been horrendous at the start of the season, but that is they got a bit of history, recent history there in the playoffs. I don't want to bet against Gyeongnam. So I'm going with the Jeonnam Dragons. There's not a chance that they're going to lose to Cheonan City FC at home this weekend. So I still have all 3 lives, and I will still have all 3 lives by the end of this coming weekend. Jeonnam are not going to lose to Cheonan City.
There we go. Heard it there first. I am going to continue my tactic of choosing the team that Gangwon are facing. So it will be me versing FC Seoul. Me versing rather. Wow. I'll be backing FC Seoul this weekend to not lose to Gangwon. Obviously, I'll change my tactic when Gangwon finally get their act together. But until then, FC Seoul for me. So on that note, we're going to leave it there. If you do want to play Survivor, this is your last chance to play. You do need to get your picks in by Saturday morning, I believe. Saturday midday.
Yeah, Saturday. I mean, it's 2:00 kickoffs on Saturday, so like before the first game is preferred.
Yeah. All right, then. Well, there you
game after it's been played.
Get your picks in before the first game, ideally, and you just need to be on our $3 tier, and you stand a chance to win a K-League kit, home and away, K-League 1, K-League 2. We'll even put the KNT home and away possibly into that contention if you're really not into any of the K-League teams, but. You can join that on patreon.com/K-League United. If you just want to follow us, you can do on socials, all at K-League United. But that's it for this week, gentlemen. Thanks again for joining me. Thanks again, listeners, for tuning in and people tuning in live on our live streams everywhere. We're going to be doing more of these this season. It won't be every week, but we will be doing more live streams. So we will probably start posting about them a little bit more now we've finally figured out how the controls work. But yeah. Please do tune into K-League as well, K-League TV, where we've got Alex Jensen on commentary, as well as Paul and myself. We'll be doing Suwon FC versus Gimcheon Sangmu. Forgotten who we're talking about, Paul. I will have it together by Saturday. But let's wrap it up there. From Paul, Andrew Farrell, Luke Evans, and myself, Matthew Binns. Chechul Sun. See you soon. Thanks very much for listening. Bye-bye.
적조선 공공 복격기 김신우